Everybody's talking about debate bros. It looks like Wisecrack has gotten in on the discourse.
What's up, free thinkers? I'm here today to use logic and reason to show you why anyone who disagrees with any of my opinions is an illogical fool who doesn't deserve to speak.
Yep, we got it.
Today we're going to talk about debate, or the lack thereof, and why people on the internet, and in particular this website, love it so much. Debate is the oil, coal, and gas of the internet. It ferments amongst the masses in Twitter threads and subreddits. Oops.
Gotta be careful with the deadnamingx.com. You know, so-called principled leftists falling apart on their principles whenever it comes to using X's true name. They keep on trying to revert to X's biological name. Disappointing.
It racks up viral views for streamers like this.
I'm sorry?
This isn't true.
That water has not always been H2O?
Yeah, all you have to do is cross the Mexican border. And over there, it's aqua. That's H2O.
Horseman mentioned.
From Daily Wire hosts Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson, who combat formidable opponents, i.e. Mostly just stoned college students, to the Majority Report's Emma Vigeland, who specializes in humiliating conservatives.
Feels a little bit weird, like equating the kind of debate that Vosh versus Ben Shapiro debating college students versus like Emma Vigeland all do, because the styles of debate they do are very different, and the amount of faith that they would apply to a conversation is going to be vastly different. Seems a little weird to just put them all side by side and kind of like, these are all the exact same thing. The entire point of like the conservatives that do these circuits where they only debate college students, like the entire point is that they control the microphone, they have an audience who is already hostile to the person who they're trying to debate, and they have complete control over like cutting them off whenever they want, with gish galloping, with throwing out all of the stuff that they want to. And it creates an environment where it's like intentionally very hard for someone to succeed. The people on the left that they've showed so far have genuine one-on-one conversations with people. It just seems weird to equate them like that.
In our age of extreme hyperpolarization, fostering dialogue between disagreeing factions seems like a decent idea. But calling online debate an intellectual endeavor feels a little generous.
I mean, that's generally not the purpose of like online debate. I mean, most people you're going to see on online debate are not trying to have like a one-on-one conversation with someone with the goal of like arriving at a shared truth or a shared understanding of like each other. With that said, there are lots of benefits about debate that go beyond trying to reach a shared understanding. Often when it comes to debating someone, it's more about trying to appeal to their audience rather than the person themselves. Like, you can make a lot of strides in helping an audience member understand something better, even if the person they watch, the person who they're watching debate, is engaging in bad faith, is not trying to reach, truth or honesty. A lot of people have been radicalized either to the left or to the right, starting from like watching debates, like watching Ben Shapiro owns college students, or literally the entirety of Gamergate was very similar to that kind of engagement, where it's just like dunking on people as a way to cement like a political ideology and identity. I think these are valuable tools, but they should be understood as what they are.
Nerdy WWE match, where you lob words instead of elbow strikes for the purpose of entertaining the masses. So, what the hell happened? America has a long history of public debate.
Debate often appeals more so also to people who are not really informed on kind of a topic yet. If somebody's kind of a fence sitter or they're kind of on the unknown about a topic, a debate might be a bit more like entertaining as a form of like edutainment, to get them interested, to get them kind of start thinking about a topic rather than something like a video essay. This can be part of like a diversity of tactics we employ, where it's like, we can start to get people interested in topics with things like debates, with platforms, edutainment like that. And then maybe they'll be interested in more, look into something that's more substantive, maybe like a really in-depth research document, or like a video essay, something that's kind of more fleshed out and substantive. These are both good for their own reasons, and employing them in tandem can actually create kind of like a pipeline that gets people involved. This is what like the alt-right pipeline was basically built on, was creating like a pipeline of one type of content to another to slowly radicalize people. This can be used for good or for bad. If we're talking about like debating, when we on the left literally have the facts on our side, literally have medical data, studies, literally all of academia, reality has a left-wing bias, that's a huge advantage for debating both in good faith and in, building effective rhetoric to appeal to people.
So has the internet ruined this valuable form of idea exchange? Is online debate actually useful as a way to refine ideas? Or are we just wasting our time when we tweet our sickest burns at PragerU?
I don't think online debate is really good at like refining ideas, but I also don't think that that's the purpose for why people debate these days.
Now, to understand debate in America, it helps to look at our former unelected overlords. In England, the parliamentary system started developing rules for debate in the 16th and 17th centuries, which back then included an emphasis on politeness and staying on topic.
The problem with the framing of this video, especially jumping into the historical narrative, is he's going to talk about how, like, debates as a history originated as, like, a means of deriving a common truth, as a means of, like, understanding each other. You know, you can go back all the way to, like, Socratic debates and how these were genuinely used as, like, a tool for discussion understanding. But over time, debates are going to evolve and take on new meanings and new purpose. And just because the reason why people engage in debates today aren't the same as the reason why they engaged in them before, doesn't mean that they're a bad thing. I think that debates can be a tool to be used for good or for bad. The kind of tool that Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh will employ on college campuses to radicalize people is they're using this for evil. Yet people having good faith conversations or trying to, you know, get people interested in actually learning more about, say, like trans existence or their material reality, class consciousness, like these are good things that people can do in debates. It's about what you're using it for.
Well, we can't address every era of debate in American history because it's simply too complex a web. But suffice to say, American history has been an ongoing, ever-evolving tension between debate as a civil exchange of ideas and debate as often uncivil entertainment.
I think framing it as as either intellectual engagement or entertainment misses the nuance that it's often both to some extent. It can often be a form of edutainment, in addition to, like, actual propaganda and rallying. Like, we're kind of missing that, which seems to be kind of the main point today.
Conservative columnist William F. Buckley rode that wave of America's fascination with televised debate on his show Firing Line, which for 33 years balanced reasoned argumentation between intellectuals with rhetorical fallacies and bombacity, now classic strategies of today's debate bros.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask literally any person that does debates. Like, we will all openly admit that looking like you're winning a debate has nothing to do with the substance of your argument. Coming off looking up as winning has everything to do with your rhetorical skills, with your ability to control the conversation, with your ability to narrativize and to, you know, effectively, like, thwart what your opponent is saying.
And by the time we were treated to the internet's first real homegrown president,
I'm gonna have to scare the pup.
debate was basically all about performance. The focus of winning the argument by any means, untruths or insults included, had supplanted entirely proving the merit of your ideas. By the 2000s, programs on 24-hour news channels fully leaned into what Stephen Colbert dubbed truthiness, a predilection for facts that feel true even if they aren't true.
And you can also, like, have effective fact-checking in debates that can really put a thwart on that. And it can also be very rhetorically effective to take the fact-checking angle.
And none of these modern debaters seem interested in changing anyone's mind or sometimes even talking about the subject they're supposed to be debating.
Okay, that's a crazy statement. I would say that overwhelmingly, people who actually do debate regularly have a vested interest in changing minds, have a vested interest in convincing people that they're right. Like, that's why they train on rhetoric and train on being convincing, conveying a message to a wider audience. I love to do debates because I think it's a great way to kind of, like, get people interested in topics and get people to engage with things a little bit further as a tool to be used in changing people's minds. Ethan from H3 is another really good example of somebody who would be doing this kind of thing to reach out to people who, you know, either haven't really settled on something yet, or to reach out to, like, an audience. The example they're showing, the debate between H3 and XQC was humiliated by H3. He was attacked horrendously by his own subreddit, like, just completely, like, dogpiled because of how bad he did and how clearly he was demonstrated to be bad faith, to be wrong. Like, minds were clearly changed over this. You can look at the evidence on the XQC subreddit itself.
If the goal of debate has changed from challenging ideas to winning, then trivial tactics like citing facts or posing logical arguments, well, no longer works.
I mean, I think that there are some people that do debate just for clout, but literally all of the examples that they've shown so far are people that have a genuine vested interest in changing minds. I mean, even if you're talking about, like, the Ben Shapiro or Matt Walsh debates, which are largely bad faith, the reason why they do that is because they want to change people's minds. They want to bring people over to their side by trying to make leftists or liberals or whatever look like illogical, you know, dumb college students.
Both sides of the political aisle, debates now use sophistry, i.e. engaging in fallacious arguments with the intention of deceiving others.
I feel like that's really disingenuous to both sides sophistry like that. I will, admittedly, I will say that sophistry is something that you encounter from both sides, but it skews heavily to the right in terms of how much they're going to lie and misrepresent and, rely on fallacies and otherwise bad reasoning. The reason why the left is good at debate is because we have reality on our side. Every major academic institution and peer-reviewed studies, the peer-reviewed literature agrees with us, agrees with the narratives we're trying to tell about the world. We don't need to rely on logical fallacies and sophistry, but the right does, and pointing that out can actually be a very effective tool in moving people over to the left.
Such divisive times, it's easy to feel like persuading people is futile, but persuadable voters still swing elections. However, it's unlikely folks will be persuaded by something like this.
That debate that they're showing was a debate where Andrew Tate triple down on not believing in empirical data which showed that women got into less car accidents than men, and where Andrew Tate defended flat earth beliefs. The idea that nobody would ever watch that and be like, maybe Andrew Tate's kind of an idiot and I really shouldn't be following his advice. Or maybe, hey, this Hassan guy's got some decent points sometimes. That absolutely has happened. And well, I don't think that it necessarily means that people are going to outright change their mind, but absolutely debates like that can poke holes in people's attachments to people, can poke holes in people's ideologies. If somebody was, a big heavy Tate fan, and then they were like, well, wait, why can't Andrew Tate acknowledge the reality of this data? Why can't Andrew Tate acknowledge that the earth is round? That seems like he's being kind of dumb here. Maybe I really shouldn't listen to all the things that he's saying.
It's all a big sliding spectrum.
That has absolutely happened because of this debate, and to pretend that that's not real is ridiculous.
Rule number 1 of being a debate bro is that, get ready for it, it's not actually about debating, bro. Now, the arena of debate isn't a forum. It's a stage, and arguments are won by performance rather than substance. Writer and scholar Moira Weigel explained that while she considers substantive disagreement important, social media is a terrible medium to reach productive resolution of disagreements.
That is true, but you can often think about debates more so about planting seeds rather than reaping what you sow. Going back to the Andrew Tate example, I don't think people would be explicitly have a miracle revelation moment where they instantly change their mind on something from kind of a debate. But it can absolutely plant that seed of, maybe I've been listening to the wrong person on this. Maybe they really don't know all that much. Maybe they're kind of dumb. Having that genuine curiosity, leading them into looking into things further. It can absolutely be an effective tool for that. And once again, because reality, data, science has a left-wing bias, encouraging people to look into things further is good. It's a good thing.
So the only other reason that you should ever have a conversation or be friends with anyone on the left is, and not even be friends, is if you are in public in front of a large audience, and then your goal is to humiliate them as badly as possible.
You've also seen conservatives giving away the grift for a really long time. There was another one that Donald Trump said in a speech within the past year where he was like, I could talk about the economy, talk about infrastructure, whatever. People don't care. But then I say trans people and everybody goes crazy. There was also the famous example. It was a big prominent conservative politician who said a very similar quote about I can talk about roads, infrastructure, the economy, nobody cares. And then I talk about black people and everybody loses their mind. Conservatives have been giving away the grift for literally so long. We can absolutely capitalize on that.
They also challenge journalists or experts to debates. When the expert declines, because let's be honest, ain't nobody got time for debates longer than the extended editions of The Lord of the Rings, the debate bros conclude that they were too scared.
There's a couple of problems with that framing. I mean, one, most of the reason why it's not a good idea is that actual experts know that they don't have the media and rhetoric training, which is what these kind of formats are all about. And also this ignores that prominent figures on the right are terrified of debating actual leftists who are versed in these topics. You will never see PragerU, Daily Wire having actual debates with, say, major figures on the online left. You will never see this happen. They know that they're going to get blown out by somebody who actually has facts and reality on their side. Not mentioning the disparity between how conservatives always want to debate, not date. Careful. I mean, it is true that conservatives do want to date people that are way too young for them. That's a different topic. But the fact that conservatives always want to debate dumb college students and never principled leftists who have done all the research on this, meanwhile leftists are very open to those kind of debates, shows that there is a disparity in intellectual honesty and information and quality of argument, which
you
is
seen this Naomi
very irresponsible to not mention in a video like this.
Another tactic used that has a pretty awesome name is the fire hose of falsehood. This was a Soviet propaganda technique in which a large number of messages are broadcast rapidly over the news and media without regard for truth or consistency.
I mean, this is something that's pretty much exclusively done by conservatives because data and science and studies disagrees with them. What they'll do is they'll just grab their hand-picked list of anecdotes and just rapid fire list them off. If you ever seen like conservatives that try to argue about like trans people in bathrooms or whatever, because literally all data shows that trans people are disproportionately victims, not perpetrators of crimes in bathrooms, instead what they'll do is they'll grab the entire list of every crime that a transgender person has ever committed and just like lift soft anecdotes rapid fire to pretend like it's a massive wave of trans people being like criminals, when in reality they are disproportionately less likely to be criminals in those situations. But I don't see people on the left doing this. Like, I see people on the left like actually citing data and studies on this. The framing of this video is so like enlightened centrist in a way that is just like taking something bad that conservatives do and then saying that like both sides do it. Like, he's done that multiple times where he's like very explicitly tried to both sides it.
Debate bros also love to embrace the ad hominem fallacy, in which they attack the person instead of the argument. Now, this is especially nasty when a debate bro attacks folks from marginalized communities.
Ad hominems and personal attacks can be pretty prevalent in like all of political discourse, but also like once again in that debate with like Andrew Tate and Hassan, like that ad hominem didn't work because Andrew was just like objectively getting destroyed.
Lest you think we're only implicating conservatives, this approach is often perpetuated by leftist online debaters who mobilize fans against individuals from communities that they supposedly support.
I'm not really seeing like waves of harassment from like leftists prompted on by like a debate or something that happens. Like, where is that happening? He once again did like a both sides thing in a very reactionary framework where he's like, before you just go and think it's only conservatives that are like trying to dogpile like their victims, like leftists do this too. Okay, who? Where? Like, provide some evidence for that? Because I really don't see that out of like leftist communities. I mean, maybe some like tanky communities or like, you know, maybe more like liberal communities like Destiny, particularly like edgy communities, but I don't know, I think calling them leftists is a bit of a stretch.
Now, the common refrain that facts don't care about your feelings ignores the very basic reality, notably argued by Hegel, that feelings absolutely influence the conclusions you derive from facts.
So that's true, but also the point of people saying facts don't care about your feelings is to highlight the fact that when we're trying to come to like prescriptions, judgments, conclusions, that we should genuinely value like the data and the evidence more so than, you know, people's personal feelings about it. And when appropriately applied, this would lead people to value, you know, like rigorous evidence and data in a good faith kind of way. Like, for example, valuing the actual data we have on crime and privacy violations in bathrooms rather than like just a conservative's feelings about being uncomfy with like a trans person in a bathroom. I mean, I would agree that like both sides can like employ that kind of like facts don't care about your feelings rhetoric, but it's more of a prescriptive statement when he's trying to say that it's bad because it's like descriptively not true.
Now, one of the problems with online debate is that it obscures the influence of persuasion, thus creating a paradigm where someone is necessarily right and the other wrong.
That's completely true. Absolutely, it's the case that persuasion, emotional appeals are huge when it comes to moving people over in debates. Ultimately, it is known that you cannot reason somebody in like out of a position that they did not reason themselves into. Most people, as far as like their principles, their ideology, comes from like a sense of intuition or feelings or personal experiences and not like well thought out and reasoned principles. And when people reach their conclusions from that intuition, from that personal experience, you're not going to reason them out of that unless you either emphasize the importance and the value of reason, or if you create that emotional appeal that can change their mind, that can put some cracks in their ideology and their worldview. You can do both of these through debate.
Online debate culture doesn't commit us to expanding our thinking to encompass what's right or true, but rather to double down on how we argue that our thinking is already right or true.
I think that can be true, while it can also be true that people who do engage with this kind of content, or in these kind of debates in good faith, that's not necessarily true. Like, yeah, I mean, even if you look at a debate where somebody gets, like, objectively destroyed, you'll have people in their audience that will, you know, come to their defense, be like, oh, they were so mean and bad, and yeah. But, like, there will also be people that will have some cracks in their ideology start to form from situations like that. And that can be a really good way to begin the process of like self-inflection.
At the very least, healthy debate requires listening in good faith and responding thoughtfully to the argument, something that some online communities sometimes mischaracterize as cowardly or weak. A debater who genuinely seeks truth, not victory, concedes points and admits when they don't have an answer.
I don't think that doing that necessarily comes off as weak. There are absolutely ways to be good faith and to concede points and to honestly and thoughtfully respond to people's inquiries while also being incredibly rhetorically effective. I don't think those are mutually exclusive in any way. I mean, you'll often find the case that like very strong debaters will be very quick to concede points, especially like from a rhetorical angle of it lets you move on quickly. It lets you focus on where the actual disagreement is, where the person is in the wrong, and just, you know, move past the situation where, yeah, they figured it out, they've got it, or where there's agreement.
Sometimes debate is pointless if neither side is willing to listen.
That framing is interesting because like it frames it as like a debate is pointless when say like this person's in bad faith and I'm trying to engage with their audience. I think that even if you have a very bad faith interlocutor, some of their audience is in good faith and does want to, you know, seek out the truth and understanding.
Brew a fresh cup of coffee the morning this video comes out, and at 10 a.m. Pacific time, look with glee at the civil debate that unfolds.
That's it? I feel like that video is really shallow. I mean, pretty much all of the literally all of the criticisms of the debate which he brought forward are criticisms which are only going to be true sometimes, things which are going to be true more on like the one-on-one conversation rather than like appealing to an audience. And they're also things that literally everybody that does debate already acknowledges and understands and like is open about acknowledging. Combine that with like the enlightened centrist, both sides bad framing, which was relentlessly kept on popping up in this video, even in cases where it's like clearly something that is overwhelmingly or emblematically like a right-wing strategy. This video just seems like it came off really shallow. I mean, discourse on like debates is always so disappointing because people never talk about the idea of like, hey, what if we employ like a diversity of tactics? Because any kind of form of media or entertainment or edutainment is going to have limitations, is going to have weaknesses, is going to have stipulations. And so, you know, we kind of have to diversify our tactics, diversify how we do this to best appeal to the widest audience that we can.